Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Damian Lillard got off to a hot start for the Milwaukee Bucks against an already shorthanded Sixers side. Jayden Daniels needs to play this Sunday for one important reason, and the Bengals look like a team without a leader.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Opening night for most NBA teams, and on national television, we got a matchup of Eastern Conference contenders. It was Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks against Joel Embiid and Paul George and the New York Sixers, except they didn't play. Chris Middleton didn't play for the Milwaukee Bucks either. So off to a little bit of an anticlimactic start, but the Milwaukee Bucks got a 124-109 win. Damian Lillard was outstanding in this one. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Camille Davis, also always outstanding from Locked On Bucks. She joins me now. And Camille, they noted on the broadcast the activity from Damian Lillard. The 30 points, it's the 9 rebounds that stands out to me. He was guarding on the perimeter, almost came up with a couple steals in this game. What was your first impression? What stands out to you from this one?
How comfortable Dame looked in this particular game on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. Like I've been saying, the year 2 of Dame in Milwaukee should get off to a better start. They mentioned during the broadcast as well, something I've been saying throughout the summer of reasons for optimism for this Bucks team, where it's like you look at year 2 for certain squads. Sometimes it takes until then to get it together. You look at Minnesota with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns last year, took them a year or 2 to get that together. Even in Dallas with the Mavericks with Kyrie and Luka, and the chemistry was outstanding. I saw in this game, Dame and Giannis became the first Bucks teammates in the Bucks season opener to have at least 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists apiece. Like the chemistry is off to a good start.
Yeah, 25, 14, and 7. And it didn't feel like Giannis was ever really part of the main flow of this game. And that I want to ask you about that, Camille, because when Lillard was the initiator of this offense, everything seemed to flow. When Giannis was the initiator of this offense, things seemed to grind down to a halt a little bit. It was more just like, hey, Giannis, go make something happen. And the assists, the passing was still outstanding in this game. Giannis can do that part. How can they better balance all of this? Or is this just the best way to do it? Giannis and a bunch of guys, let Giannis be Giannis. And when Dame is the primary ball handler, let him distribute and get everybody else involved.
I think in this particular matchup, given the fact that the 76ers were without Joel Embiid, they were small. So I think a lot of it was Giannis looking and saying like, hey, like there is not much size or just anything to really deter me from trying to go and get my bucket. So I think for Giannis, a bit of it was like, let me just try to get here because I see they have Caleb Martin on me. They're throwing Kyle Lowry on me every so often. So
he did have 16 free throws.
Right. And I wish he would have made more. He gave them way too much free chicken in Philly tonight. But I think for Giannis, he tends to kind of ease into a season. So like for him, only playing 31 minutes and putting up that stat line as well, I think is a good start for him because a couple of times he was slow to get up and we know how Giannis likes to play the game full throttle. So I think for him, he's just gearing up a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're a Bucks fan, isn't that exactly what you want? Because he's not been healthy the last 2 seasons, heading into the postseason, going back a couple years, the bubble year against Miami, he gets hurt. They need Giannis Antetokounmpo in a lot of the same ways that the Sixers need Joel Embiid to be healthy, but Giannis has not come out and said, I'm not going to play back-to-backs, and I've lost all this weight. Like, we know Giannis is going to do all the right things to get where he needs to get. The supporting cast, we saw Gary Trent comes in, Taurean Prince comes in, didn't miss a shot for like the first 5 attempts or 6 attempts that he had. He finishes 6 of 7 with 16 points. What did you think of the new Bucks and the new Bucks that they're going to be relying on here?
Loved the new Bucks additions. I've been saying all offseason, I think that the Bucks upgraded their roster on the margins here because you're looking at the guys that the new guys are replacing, which is Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley, and Patrick Beverley. And you're bringing in Taurean Prince, you're bringing in Gary Trent Jr., you're bringing in DeLon Wright. Yep. And those first 2 guys, Taurean Prince and Gary Trent Jr. in particular, at the point of attack, they are so physical. The refs started calling a little bit differently in the third quarter and then going into the fourth for the Bucks with that defense. But I love what they bring to the team defensively. They already show an improvement there just because you have more talent at the point of attack. You saw it with Brook Lopez, with guys being able to correctly funnel, the players to Brook Lopez, who finished the game with 6 blocks and like 16 contested shots at the rim. Brook Lopez was out there tonight, and I think those new offensive additions just add to what makes Brook great, because last year he was under attack a lot because the point of attack was so weak. So all in all, it's a really good start for the new guys on the Bucks as well.
Stay up to date on the Milwaukee Bucks all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bucks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, Jayden Daniels needs to play this Sunday. Before we get to that, it was opening night for most of the NBA, and DeAndre Hopkins will be catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. If you're an NFL fan and you're looking for a big return, look no further than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Plus, you'll get $200 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet to start. And you can look at some Week 8 lines if you want. The Cleveland Browns lost Deshaun Watson for the season, and they may be headed for obscurity with the Baltimore Ravens coming to town. But the Browns have yet to score at least 20 points in a game. And FanDuel does not believe that's going to change. Their total is set at 16.5. FanDuel loves the Ravens to win the game. Baltimore favored by 9.5. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories in sports without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. DeAndre Hopkins is heading to Kansas City after the Tennessee Titans dealt the veteran wideout on Wednesday.
This was a move that needed to happen. I've been talking about it on the show for a few weeks now. The Tennessee Titans trade DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. It is a conditional 4th-round pick. It could be a 5th-round pick. It could be a 4th-round pick, depending on certain team success for the Kansas City Chiefs, certain player success for DeAndre Hopkins. We don't have the exact terms right now. We do know that the Tennessee Titans are going to be eating some of the salary for DeAndre Hopkins, which it's very low. And why wouldn't the Titans eat salary to get a better draft pick? They're not in a position where they need a ton of salary cap during the season, and Kansas City didn't have a lot of salary cap. So I absolutely would eat salary cap to get a better draft pick. At the end of the day, though, this is 100% what the Tennessee Titans needed to do.
On the hardwood, basketball tipped off in Florida with the Magic in Miami to face the Heat.
This is Philip Rossman-Wright, the host of Locked On Magic. And all offseason, all throughout training camp, the Orlando Magic talked the talk. They told us they're going to be a more mature team, that they were going to be ready to compete at the top of the Eastern Conference, that they were going to be a better team than they were last year. Tonight, on opening night, the Magic walked the walk. That was the message Goga Bitadze gave to Paolo Banchero, and Paolo delivered with 33 points, scoring the most points in an opening night game since Shaquille O'Neal back in 1993. This was a historic performance for the Orlando Magic, and one that clearly says this team is ready to make noise in the Eastern Conference. They came to Miami, a place they have not won since, I believe, 2019, and took home a huge victory over an in-state and division rival. But more than that, the Magic got to the suffocating defense that is the calling card of this team, the thing that is going to make this team successful. They showed everyone not only that they can win, but how they're going to win and how they're going to beat you. There's still a lot to clean up, but this was an impressive victory for the Magic.
The Pelicans and no Zion hosted the Bulls to open the season.
Big man that was the MVP in a Pelicans win. You'd think I'm talking about Zion Williamson, but it was actually rookie Yves Missi. I'm Jake Madison, host of the daily Locked On Pelicans podcast. The Pels need a center, and rookie Yves Missi stepped up. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. The offense looked more fluid with him on the court. The defense tightened up significantly and protected the paint. For a rookie, it was about as impressive as you could imagine. After this performance, you have to figure Missi will be a starter sooner rather than later at the center position? And that answers a big, pun intended, question about New Orleans. He also had a great game from Brandon Ingram, quieting some of the trade rumors around him this summer with 33 points. No Zion, no problem apparently on opening night. I've got more for you on the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
Jayden Daniels is banged up, but not in a way that is prohibitive enough that warrants he sit no matter what. We discussed why he needs to play, or at least why it would be great to see him play if he's medically cleared this Sunday.
Let's go to how we started the show and what Tampa Bay just went through. Would you want to be in that Mike Evans situation, that Chris Godwin situation? I don't think anybody would want to be. And at this point, Washington has enough divisional games, 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles still, which are right behind them. Those are the games you have to focus on. The division wins count as 2. You get one team gets a win, the other gets a loss. Obviously, that's a 2-game swing. I think, of course, the NFL, Mr. Roger Goodell, wants it to be that way. And I think right now more people would probably want to see Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow than Marcus Mariota and Caleb Williams. No offense, Marcus, but it's a long remove from his Heisman days. But at the same time, Jayden Daniels, if he's ready to go, this isn't going to be the first time in his career that he's going to be tasked with playing injured. Let's be honest. If he's medically cleared, like you said, David, he's got that warrior mentality. There's a reason he went 2nd overall. I think you just have to let him go and sling it. And if he believes that he can, all power to him.
If you're a Washington fan, though, right, you got to be so nervous about a number 2 overall pick coming in banged up. I mean, that would give me nightmares.
That's never happened before, Lou. There's never.
I was going to say, there's no maybe not the organization, but the fans. I'd be like, not this again.
If they're going to make that injury worse, you sit them
right now.
Luckily, the difference between ribs and a knee is enormous. Yes. Like it's really just a pain threshold thing. I think if you're a Commanders fan, you kind of want to see him go out there and play through it because look, on this Zoom, everyone on this Zoom probably weighs more than Jayden Daniels, Patricia Traina excluded. He's so small. He's so little. And so you worry about these injuries and he needs to, I don't know the DC food scene well enough, but get him some Five Guys. Like he's got to put on some weight.
That'll cost you $500.
This is going to be the problem for Jayden Daniels moving forward is he's going to have to stay healthy. It's not the ACLs and those injuries that anyone like Tom Brady tore his ACL for crying out loud. It's these sorts of hits. It's do you just have the body armor to make these plays? That's what I want to see from Jayden Daniels. And I want to see him go out, wear the Game of Thrones chest armor plate underneath the thing. Like I want to see him do that. And if he can do that, like, is there anything else any other box he hasn't checked? Like Lauren Cox is ducking David Harrison on the show because he doesn't want to come on and the Bears made the wrong pick. Like Lauren, come on the show. What are you doing? Afraid to compete.
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, the pain threshold is the biggest part of it because, I mean, structurally, it's already been basically determined. Like he's structurally pretty much as good as you can get. It's about that torque and that twisting of the upper torso to get the trajectory of the ball, get the velocity, all that stuff that we've got to see if he can withstand. James Yarko, I want to ask you, though, we're going to wrap up this topic with you because you're the closest to this situation, feeling it the worst this weekend. What is your opinion? What's your take?
I think, and I hate to say that I agree with Peter Bukowski, but I agree with Peter Bukowski. Like this is a pain threshold thing.
Record the game time.
You know, this isn't a hamstring. You know, this is, you know, can you handle, you know, that soreness? Can you still be who you've been for the first part of this season, which has been absolutely amazing? I cannot remember the last time I was excited to watch Commanders or Washington football team games, and I'm excited to watch them if I can because Jayden Daniels is so much fun. So can he still throw the ball, you know, effectively and it's not hampering him? Can he still take a hit and not be knocked from the game? I think it's kind of an apples and oranges situation, and of course there is inherent risk anytime there's a play being run. You know, is it worth it for the Commanders to move forward with their star to outduel the lesser rookie quarterback? Or do you learn from Tampa and you say, you know what, let's make sure that he's 100% just in case. But no, if I'm Jayden Daniels, I'm probably trying to play. If I'm a Commanders fan, I'm not scared if he takes the field.
Don't miss the Locked On NFL squad shows every Thursday on the Locked On NFL channel. Coming up, the Bengals are a team without a leader. The Cincinnati Bengals do not make sense. They scored 105 points in a 3-game stretch and won only one of those games. They are under 500 and hanging on to relevance in the AFC by a thread. As David Harrison tells Tony Wiggins on a recent Locked On NFL podcast, it's because the Bengals are leaderless.
They can't keep playing this way. And the problem is that the root of the issue of why the Bengals are playing the way they're playing, which they cannot continue to do, is because they look like a team right now that doesn't have a leader. They're a very externally motivated team from what I'm seeing so far this season. You look at the game against New England Patriots, they make some uncharacteristic mistakes like fumbling a ball as you're entering the end zone. Like that's something that's football 101. You learn as a youngster, tuck that ball away. Yeah, we see, pros doing it in the NFL. They lose 16-10 to the New England Patriots. Think about putting up 10 points against the New England Patriots. Then you go out and put 25 points. Yeah, you go up, you put 25 points up against Kansas City Chiefs on the road.
Yeah.
Right. That's not the same type of team that you're talking about. The Kansas City Chiefs these days are winning more because of their defense than they are because of their offense. Then they go up against the Washington Commanders and they get into a shootout against a Washington Commanders team that likes to put up points in bunches. Go up against Carolina Panthers. Yeah, you win the game, but you give up 24 points with the Carolina Panthers team that's executing on the ground. Then you go put up 38 points against the Baltimore Ravens in a loss. So you go from putting up 10 points against the Patriots to 38 points against the Baltimore Ravens. You win a very close game. 10-point margin of victory is not the way the game flow went against the New York Giants. And then you barely beat the Cleveland Browns on the scoreboard. This team rises and falls with their opponent. The worse their opponent is, the worse they play. The better their opponent is, the better they play. And that is the trademark sign of a team that is externally motivated. Yeah. The guys on the opposite side of the field are going to dictate our level of effort and our level of efficiency tonight. They're not internally motivated. Internally motivated teams like the Cincinnati Bengals would boat race the New England Patriots, would boat race the Cleveland Browns, would boat race the New York Giants, but they're not doing it. Why? Because they don't have leadership inside that building. I don't know if it's Zach Taylor. I don't know if it's Joe Burrow. I don't know if it's both, but somewhere in that organization, there's a significant lack of leadership. That is why you're at where you're at right now.
It's cool to be Joe Cool when everything's going great. It's cool to be Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and the high-flying offense when you're winning. But what about when that's not good enough? What about when it's the defense that's not playing well enough? Lou Anarumo, he's the Patrick Mahomes guy. He can stop that guy, but, can't stop rookie quarterbacks. There needs to be someone in that room. Theoretically, it should be Joe Burrow. Theoretically, it should be Zach Taylor. Theoretically, it should be Lou Anarumo. Theoretically, it should be Trey Hendrickson. Theoretically, it should be guys like Logan Wilson and Jamar Chase, the best players on this team, who say, we can't keep doing this. Where are they? Where are they? Because everything was cool when you're winning. But adversity does not build character. Adversity reveals character. And as our pal Tony Wiggins would say, this Bengals team, they look like they don't have any hind parts right now. They better find some if they want this season to matter at all. And finally, most people appreciate a few days out of the office for some jury duty. But how about a football player? Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey has been selected for a jury on a high-profile case which could last for an unknown extended period. Aubrey missed practice on Wednesday. The Cowboys did attempt to get him out of the case, but Aubrey insisted on fulfilling his civic obligation. Maybe a big true crime fan. He will report for jury duty today and tomorrow, and the judge has said he will work with Aubrey's football schedule. While it's unclear if the Cowboys should order a code red, it is clear that Aubrey wants to find out if he can handle the truth. I don't know. I thought this was a good chance to throw in a few good men reference. Sorry. Maybe you're a more serial person. We could do that too. I'm not going to do the Sarah Koenig voice, but you get it. True crime, sports podcasts. We love a collab. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, we get you set for Week 8 in the NFL. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.